We didn't believe in MVPs back then. We spent the better part of 2 years to create the platform. A subject like e-learning, it's probably something that you cannot really do an MVP. Probably you can, but at that point we didn't believe that we could do it. We ended up creating the whole platform. Learning is a deep experience. It's not like a small product where you can measure if it works just by having a few interactions or let's say a few days of usage. You need to go deep. Our understanding of how deep this should be, we were envisioning a whole world, hence the name of the platform LearnWorlds. I'm Panos Siozos, I'm co-founder and CEO of LearnWorlds.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries who share in the critical moments of what it takes to change an industry and build and lead a team that has your back. I'm your host, Noah Lampart. Today, how Panos Siozos got fed up with today's learning solutions and created the best online course platform around. All this and more on Code Story. Panos Siozos and his co-founders go back 25 years or more. They all studied computer science together in Greece and did their postgraduate studies on educational tech. His hobbies have been on pause for the past few years given the growth of his business, but his main passion is his family and his 8-year-old daughter. They are building a 3D printer together and tend to create using lots and lots of Legos, including Lego animation. His family helps him to see the power of learning and recites that learning is something that no one can ever take away from you. During their postgraduate studies, Panos and his co-founders built many products in the learning space, as they were crafty and could implement the things they were imagining. During their time, they shared the passion to create products that impacted the masses and enabled them to learn better. They wanted to do so by focusing on the creator. This is the creation story of LearnWorlds.
LearnWorlds is an online platform for creating and selling online courses. In the old days, we might have called it an LMS, a learning management system, but now things are much more easier to use. This is a super user-friendly platform that allows anybody, whether they're a professional trainer, somebody with an audience, somebody who just knows something and is passionate to teach that subject. It allows them to create their online courses, usually with videos, but also text, assignments, assessments, certificates, anything you can imagine. Create an online product, an online course, and even share it or sell it to a broad audience. So one can also say that we are a Shopify for online courses, a super user-friendly platform where you can just create your online business in a box and sell courses to a global audience. We built our very first e-learning platform. I think we started building it in 1999 and launched it at some point in 2000. We created many e-learning products as part of our postgraduate studies. We were also quite crafty and hands-on, very good developers, I might dare say, for that period. So we were able to implement the things that we were imagining could exist. So we started experimenting, creating things. We were playing with the very first web technologies back then, things like Ajax that started happening, and interactive pages and JavaScript and all this stuff. So we ended up creating some pretty amazing little products. But in a Greek university 20 years ago, we didn't have any guidance about how this could be converted into a business. As we progressed and we completed our PhDs in a couple of years, we always had this itch about creating products that would be massive, that could help hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people to learn better. Why not? And I have to say that we were quite dissatisfied. I might say it also a bit pissed off about the state of e-learning platforms. That's not something that we didn't like, the platforms that were out there. In many cases, e-learning was considered to be something like throwing a PDF at somebody. Now you have been trained online. That's not how we work. That's not how we learn. When we learn in our everyday lives, we want to interact with the content. We want to interact with our instructors. We want to interact with fellow students who are on their same path with us. We want interesting, interactive, engaging experiences. Especially youth today, people play with their iPads and their tablets and their gaming devices. You cannot just give them a boring 20-minute video and say, okay, now you have been trained. That's not how it works. So I guess a deep dissatisfaction and the sense that even a bit ambitious, that we can do better. We tried to do something a bit different. We wanted to empower the actual trainers, the teachers, those that know a subject and they're passionate about the subject. It can be just something like a hobby, like photography or music or knitting or gardening or something like that, or cooking, or even a professional skill, something that you would like to know in order to advance your career, get your next job, get your next promotion, whether it's data science, web programming, marketing, data analytics, finance, whatever. So that became the core of our effort, how to create a platform that would allow you to create the most amazing course that you could ever build based on your knowledge, and also to sell that, to share that with a vast audience, and also make profit out of that course. That became the focus of our effort, how to empower professional trainers, individual trainers and creators to create amazing online experiences, online learning experiences, and also make a living or make a profit out of their knowledge.
Tell me about the MVP, so that first product you built. How long did it take you to build, and what sort of tools did you use to bring it to life?
We didn't believe in MVPs back then, so we spent the better part of like 2 years to create the platform. And a subject like e-learning, it's probably something that you cannot really do an MVP. Probably you can, but we at that point we didn't believe that we could do it. So we ended up creating the whole platform. Learning is a deep experience. It's not like a small product where you can measure if it works just by having a few interactions or let's say a few days of usage. You need to go deep. And our understanding of how deep this should be, we were envisioning a whole world, hence the name of the platform LearnWorlds. We wanted to create worlds of learning. And this is what we tried to put into the platform, is all the tools that we imagined the modern learner needs in order to go deeply into a subject. So it's not just a bunch of videos that we put one after the other. That's probably something that you can find on YouTube. But there are so many things that we need in order to engage deeply with a subject and be satisfied. There are obviously different ways that we learn. Not everybody is a visual learner. Some prefer video, some prefer audio, some prefer text. You also need a community where you can safely interact with in a safe, supportive environment where you can interact with fellow learners, others in the same path, let's say, than you, or in the same stage, others being a bit more advanced, and you get help from some people that are more advanced, or how to interact with the students. So we ended up creating a full-fledged platform, not an MVP. Another thing that we didn't believe in much back then is that we didn't believe in actually testing it with actual users. So we were, I guess, in stealth mode for 2 years. We built the entire platform. We had a very deep sense that we were doing the right thing and building the right platform. We didn't measure it. So I guess that's a part arrogance of how we thought that as scientists we understood what we were supposed to be building, but also ignorance, I guess. We were a bootstrap company, scrappy, no money, no budget. It was a side project back then. We were trying to find hours during the day or weekends to work on the product, improve the product, try to do some kind of business development, understand who could be our potential users, try to approach professional trainers and celebrity developers or people who were creating blogs around the subject and who could potentially teach, and we were trying to lure them into use the platform. Or in some cases we were approaching people that were already teaching in places like Udemy, and we were asking them to give a shot at our platform and try to see if they can create an amazing platform, an amazing online course. Could we have done that with an MVP? Potentially, we learned a lot during these 2 years in how to build the product and what things were needed and what not. Some of these learnings became obsolete when we faced the first customers and the first actual users. So we had, in many cases, we had to change a few things. We are very happy that we obviously survived that phase. There are so many businesses and ventures and startups every day that die much faster than 2 years, let's say, building a product, the first version of a product. These were 2 amazing years of learning, even under scrappy conditions. We were a remote company, a remote team back then, and we still are. Working hard, trying to make the best, going deep in some cases, deeper than needed, but always with an obsessive focus on the learner experience and how you can create the best possible product. That's always at the core of the business.
That is a unique way to approach it. The 2 years stealth mode, building the entire platform, but I kind of get how you arrived at that then. This episode is sponsored by Vanta. You're a startup founder. Finding product market fit is probably your number one priority. But to land bigger customers, you also need security compliance. And obtaining your SOC 2 or ISO 27001 certification can open those big doors. But they take time and energy, pulling you away from building and shipping. And that's where Vanta comes in. Vanta is the all-in-one compliance solution helping startups like yours get audit ready and build a strong security foundation quickly and painlessly. How, you ask? Vanta automates the manual security tasks that slow you down, helping you streamline your audit. And the platform connects you with trusted VCSOs to build your program, auditors to get you through audits quickly, and a marketplace for essentials like pen testing. Join over 8,000 companies, including many Y Combinator and Techstars startups who trust Vanta. Simplify compliance and get $1,000 off at vanta.com/codestory. That's vanta.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by Kinsta. Between juggling client meetings, managing your website, and keeping up with everyday tasks, who has the time to stress out about website security? Well, with Kinsta, the technical stuff is taken care of, so you can focus on what you do best. Kinsta provides managed hosting for WordPress, offering lightning-fast load times, top-tier security, and unmatched human-only customer support. Whether you're a business owner, web developer, or running a digital agency, Kinsta makes managing your website easy and efficient. Kinsta provides enterprise-grade security, being one of the few hosting providers for WordPress with SOC 2 and other certifications, guaranteeing the highest level of security for your website. Thanks to their unlimited free expert-led migrations, Kinsta ensures a smooth transition for you from other hosting providers. Customers have reported 200% faster load times post-migration to their platform. What I find cool about Kinsta is their fast and reliable customer service and premium features that are included at no extra cost. Ready to experience Kinsta's hosting for yourself? Get your first month free when you sign up at kinsta.com today. That's KINSTA.com. So you've got your MVP. 2 years over, you got your MVP, and it's working. How did you progress the product from there? How did you mature it? And I think to give context to that question, how did you build your roadmap? How did you decide, okay, this is the next most important thing to build?
It wasn't an MVP. It was probably a maximum valuable product at that moment, and I'm saying that because once we started facing actually users, we had to pare back and trim a few of the features that we had in the platform. So at some point, it was too complex for some of the users. So at that point, what we were missing was not the product. We were missing customers. So we had to go out, approach people, and get actual users to start using the platform and launching online courses. That happened under quite difficult conditions. We're talking here about 2014. Europe, a huge financial crisis all around us, especially in Greece, where we were based. Let's say we tried through our contacts and our networks to approach large Greek businesses and professional trainers who simply couldn't care less. It was a very difficult time. Nobody was investing. Nobody was thinking that training is important. And that's probably one of the best things that happened to us, because we failed locally, so we couldn't find any local customers. So we had to go to the US market, where we're seeing online courses were already much more mature. People were launching courses, platforms were being created, dedicated platforms for launching online courses and selling online courses, or people were trying to bundle up different plugins and try to make something like that. First, we launched the school in Greece. It was a great school. But even the market at that stage, the e-commerce, let's say, landscape was quite primitive. So in some cases, people didn't have credit cards or couldn't do online transactions. So they were sending us an email asking us if they can post to us like €10 by post, an actual note of €10 note, in order to give them access to the course. So that was obviously not an environment where an e-commerce platform, SaaS platform, could operate. While in the US, things were obviously much more mature. So we started finding a few customers who were already using other platforms or were trying to find a better platform. They were really impressed by the level, how deep we had gone into online courses and how beautiful the platform looked for them. Some of the features were a bit heavy for them, so they couldn't make use, and this is where we started trimming back some of the things that were working in the platform. But they really started buying into that vision of LearnWorlds, about how you can create not just a bunch of videos that just you can access in a serial way, in a linear way, but also a lot of tools that students need, a community where they can just go in and discuss ebooks, assessments, and all this little stuff. But we were also missing things, especially we were missing lots of features on the e-commerce aspect. And this is where we understood and we decided that we need to obsessively focus on what our customers are telling us, what they need. So this is where we started. We put the scientists, let's say, on the back burner. Effectively, we locked the scientists away, and we started listening to people who had already sold courses in the past. So they had done that. We had never managed to do that in a large scale. And we started listening to them. What do they need? Why do they need certain features? And we were still a scrappy startup of like 5-6 people coding day and night. And in some cases, we were delivering features over a day. Like, we were learning something from a customer. We were trying to find a solution the same day or the next day. So not much of, let's say, coding safe procedures and processes, not much of QA. In some cases, we were just releasing features rapidly, one after the other, with minimum testing. But we were getting better very, very fast. So the platform was improving, new features were being released. People were seeing that we were trying to be accommodating and to give them new features and solve problems that they were facing. So we started to become better. And as I mentioned, also in some cases we had to simplify some of the features that we had planned. So while we had a huge roadmap with lots of stuff to build on the e-learning aspect, effectively we paused that and we started building all the things that we were missing on the e-commerce aspect, because it's not enough to have the best possible online course. You also need to be able to sell it. That's how people will make money at the end of the day. So you need to be able to help them in selling the courses or managing the sales, the invoices, the admin, let's say, around an e-commerce business. So we started learning from customers. Our customers became effectively co-designers. We always had, let's say, the upper hand in how the product should look like from the e-learning aspect, but we understood that we had to listen very, very carefully to what our customers were saying about the rest of the features. And this is how a great balance evolved to that day. We do still see and have understanding, and we're still involved in research projects and know how ideally, let's say, in an ideal world, e-learning should look like. But we also get hundreds, if not thousands, of feature requests per month from actual users, and this is where we try to talk with our customers directly. Every day, our product managers and even the co-founders, we talk with customers. We try to understand what they want to build and why, and then we put it back into the platform. So we still to this day we have a very fast pace of evolving the platform and releasing new features.
Let's switch to team. So, how did you go about building your team? And what did you look for in those people to indicate that they were the winning horses to join you?
In the beginning, as a bootstrap team, we were also quite desperate. So the people that we could reach out to were students from our university, people who were just getting out of the school, and they were trying to find their first job. And this is probably one of the best things we ever did, that we trusted people who didn't have the experience. We couldn't provide a proper competitive salary to a professional, so we had to find people who were just coming out of a uni or were just working on a side project. We managed to get some of those around. They became better, just like the product. These were our first hires, people who had never done this job before professionally. These are not people who would be hired by, let's say, a US startup or a business or a more established business. So they could only work for us. That was the best thing that ever happened to them and to us. In 2015, 2016, the economy is in a huge crisis. Youth unemployment is at around 50%. Probably the most well-educated generation of Greeks with university degrees and master's degrees, and traveling around Europe, excellent at languages, but they were operating in an environment of 50% youth unemployment. We managed to attract some of them. We trusted them with their first job and their first meager salary, but still it was something. And these were the people that passionately devoted their work and their effort to the business, and this is how we started becoming better. After a couple of years, obviously, like in 2018, 2019, we started hiring professionals, established professionals who had worked at similar positions. So we started getting a bit more senior people who were able to also elevate the level of everything that we were doing, from the product side to the marketing side, and this is how we continue to this day. So now, unfortunately, we have much less time and capacity to bring in young talent who could evolve with us. The competition and the pressures of getting the business forward are much stronger. But these people are the ones who initially were able to save and propel to bring the business forward. And hopefully we will reach a size again where we will be able to again bring in a young talent and have them work side by side with us and learn from us and become amazing professionals.
Let's flip to scalability then. So did you build this to scale efficiently from day one, or have you been fighting this as you've been growing?
If somebody is telling that they're building something to scale from day one, they're either lying or they're making a huge mistake, because you cannot scale something or build for scale something that you don't know how it would look like. So we didn't build for scale. We built things that were working. We always had in mind, because I guess probably our computer science background and experience, we always had in mind to avoid like huge bottlenecks we had scalability, let's say, at the back burner somewhere, or at the back of our minds, but on a more theoretical level. On the practical level, we were doing things that were working at the time. I think it's Paul Graham who mentioned that do things that don't scale. We were doing all the things that didn't scale. So just to give you an example, when we started 2014, when people wanted to get a free trial of the platform, we didn't have an automated way to build the free trial. So we had a form. People were coming in there. They were entering their email and school name. They were getting an email that were saying that your trial is being built. We will send you an email very shortly with credentials to access your trial. Do you know what was happening on the background? We were getting a message in a Slack channel, and my co-founder and CTO Fanis had to go in, clone a few databases by hand, change a few DNS records, generate a trial. Then he was notifying me, and I was sending an email to the person that started the trial to give them the actual username and password to log into their trial. So as you can imagine, we were doing that by hand. So we were waking up in the morning, like 7, 8 a.m., and we were seeing that we had a crop of like 5, 10 trials overnight. And we were striving to create the trials and send them to the users. Doesn't sound very scalable, but that's what we were doing. Not that we didn't know that we could automate. Obviously, we knew that, but there were so much more important stuff to build back then in the platform and the code. So we could live with that. We could live with that unscalability until we couldn't live with that. So at some point, yet that became a priority, and we created a super automated way to create trials and immediately, like in a couple of seconds, give access to users to that trial. In some cases, we probably lost lots of time by building things that were not scalable, and we had obviously lots of technical debt or organizational debt. But I guess that's part of building anything that is worth it. Over optimization can kill any endeavor, not just a startup, but any endeavor. We managed to live with that kind of debt. When we have the time, we try to pay back some of that debt. That's, I guess, how we work to this day.
Well, as you step out on the balcony and you look across all that you've built, what are you most proud of?
Our team. That's the most important stuff, our team. So even if somebody deleted our code base, having that team around would really make me believe that we can do everything better from scratch, faster and more efficiently, and create a better platform. A startup or a scale-up or any kind of business is not determined by the things that we know now, or how much investment we got, or how much runway we have, or money in the bank, or anything else. The eventual success is determined by how fast we learn and how fast we adapt to the situation. And I guess COVID is the best example that somebody could give about that. Nobody could predict the changes that such a cataclysmic event could have on everything we do, on the way we work, on the way we socialize, on the way we consume, on the way we learn, on the way we live. So those that adapted faster to that situation were the ones who were able to make the best of it, or at least to not get harmed. So this is also, it's also one of the things that some people don't get right about what Darwin was saying about, it's not the strongest that survives, it's the fittest. It's the little mice that managed to survive the meteor that blasted everything, that blasted Earth. So having a team of amazing, talented, ambitious, smart people around, that's the best thing that you can have, and you can keep hoping that you can keep learning and keep adapting and keep finding better solutions faster than the others. That's what can keep a business or any kind of worthwhile endeavor going forward.
Well, let's flip the script a little bit. So tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
So, some of the mistakes we do is because of how the business grew in the past couple of years amid COVID. We are also a remote team, so that creates some unique conditions on how you need to communicate with people, and how you help them out when they're under pressure, and perhaps you don't realize because you're jumping from meeting to meeting. One of the mistakes could be not being able to over communicate and make a remote team feel that is part of it's a full part of everything that is happening in the business. That's something that in the past, before COVID, we were able to solve by meeting frequently, traveling, doing retreats, and all this stuff. In the past couple of years, it has been impossible under these conditions. And also that everybody is well, the well-being of employees that work around us, that everybody is taken care of. That's something we are worried. We probably, as we were growing and hiring, we tripled in 1.5 years, we tripled in size. And because of COVID, we hadn't met about 60 or 70 people that we had hired in the business. That's a tough thing to do. So in that process, we probably lost a few key co-workers where we could have a great match. Probably that's not something that we could have fixed amidst these COVID crazy conditions, but that's something that we really hope we can do much better in the future.
Well, what does the future look like for the product and for your team?
I guess lots of hard work. The entire e-learning industry is now undergoing an extreme transformation. Obviously, COVID acted as a huge catalyst in everything that was happening. We don't really believe that the things that we see at least in our area, are brand new and just came out of the blue. We mostly see that these were trends that were already happening and are now accelerating, and have accelerated probably irreversibly. E-learning was already there in a very large, to a large extent. Remote working was already there. There were businesses that were doing that. We have been doing that since 2012 when we started the project. Becoming independent, escaping 9 to 5 and the daily grind and doing a side project and creating, your own side business. All these things that were already happening before, and nomad workers, and all this stuff. But obviously now they're becoming the default. Also, in the education sector, the lifelong learning, the decline of traditional academia, people not being willing to go into huge student debt in order to, get a degree that they will possibly not be able to cash in on that degree or that knowledge. Again, all these things are now becoming much more mainstream. So we don't really know what the post-COVID state of e-learning will be. We see more and more that the default mode of learning is e-learning, and we want to be part of that solution. We believe that our vision of how learning could be is much closer to how people will be working in the next few years. I'm not saying that we will be the only ones. Obviously, there are many amazing businesses and some very hugely talented folks working on that same problem, but we do believe that the future of e-learning is not the traditional monolithic learning management system that is there to please mostly HR and admin and not the actual users. We do believe that our way of offering an amazing, engaging, interactive online course platform, our way of doing things will be much closer to what people will need in the future. And with our team, we hope that we will be able to deliver that.
Let's switch to you, Panos. Who influences the way that you work? Name a CEO, CTO, really any person that you look up to, and why.
I'm not following so much what happens in other businesses, and prominent CEOs. So I will not name any, the Bezos and the Musks and all these people. Obviously, everybody seems to be super talented at what they're doing. I have to say that I'm super influenced in a positive way by my co-workers every day, whether it's my two co-founders who have been amazing in this trip for the past life trip for the past 27 years that we've known each other. Also our amazing co-workers, and always for me an inspiration has been my father, who was also an educator, a teacher working on special education, also with for kids with special education needs, a passionate scientist and researcher and pedagogue. So that's also always, and also hard worker. That's always a source of inspiration. So it's mostly, I guess, we're mostly influenced by the people who are around us, and we see and work with them every day.
We talked about a mistake, but a little bit different spin. I'd be curious to see where you go with this, or if you go with this. But if you could go back to the beginning, what would you do differently, or where would you consider taking a different approach?
As a general, I guess, comment here is that I think everything we do is part of our journey and is the reason that it brought us to this day. So I wouldn't like to change anything, even if it was a mistake. So that's part of us, and now, and part of the story of the business, and us as let's say founders, workers, parents, or whatever. So that's as a general comment. Obviously, there are lots and lots of small stuff that we would like to change, but I also understand when it comes to business that even some of the mistakes that we did, you have to do these mistakes. So when we were building the business originally, we were reading all these articles about how you're supposed to be doing a business, to launching a business, how you're supposed to be doing an MVP, and then how you're supposed to be doing customer development and all the methodologies and all this stuff, and how you should be doing this and how you should be doing that. But unless you make these mistakes, these teachings don't really mean much. So we learn about this stuff. So in theory you know them, but once you make the mistake, that's something that then you really know. It's like kids with fire. You tell them that this burns. You tell them, you have to explain them, but the first time they get burned, they really got the message. Obviously, you don't want them to get burned, badly, but in some cases you have to make your own mistakes. So I'm of that generic school of thought. On the actual specifics of the business, I think we could have looked into the US market much faster, scale back a bit of some of our ambitions on the e-learning aspect, and work much more on the e-commerce side of the business. So at that point, we could have probably, went much harder for funding, trying to get funding and be able to hire a few more people on the marketing side that could propel the business much better. Because even at that point, we were great scientists and developers. We had a great product, but we weren't a good businessman. We couldn't sell that product very effectively, even if the product had obviously mistakes. All the products have. So working more on the sales and the marketing of the platform, or being better at that, instead of focusing too much on the product. This is a balance. I would change slightly. I guess I would tilt to the other side. But hindsight is 2020. So even the way we have become now as a business, and the way the product has evolved, I'm super happy with everything we've been through and how we ended up to this place today.
So last question, Panos. So you're getting on a plane, and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world. Can't wait to show it off to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit?
Probably, again, continuing on the same path, I would say that probably the last thing he wants is advice from, or she wants is advice from somebody like me. I really believe that you need to make your own mistakes. So it wouldn't make sense for him to enter my own shoes or to learn from my mistakes. And I really believe that you have to make your own mistakes, and it's not something that you can pass on to another person. For me, the biggest learning from all this past experience is how little improvements on a daily basis, how they compound. And this is where, if you can become better every single day, like 0.1% better marketing, better coding, better nutrition, better fitness regime or whatever, all these little things compound. So very, very soon you will not be able to realize how big something can become. It's the same about the product, it's the same about the marketing funnel, it's the same about a team, how powerful a team can be. Like a few years ago, I would have never imagined. Right now, LearnWorlds is we're at about 110 people and growing, hiring aggressively. I could have never imagined having such a team of amazing people working for us and being able to do so many different stuff in such a way. This is something that you have to live every day, and all these little additions to the team, to the product, to our experience, all these little things can add up and can create something that is unrecognizable after a few months of growth. When you haven't seen that happening, you cannot really understand it unless you have experienced it at least once. Even though obviously you read about it, and I'm making the same mistake by explaining how it works. You have to see it, but you have to also trust that this can be done. That these little daily improvements on everything we do can create something very, very important and meaningful and substantial.
I love it. Well, Panos, thank you for being on the show today. Thank you for telling the creation story of LearnWorlds.
Thank you, Noah, for having me.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Laphart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. Support the show on patreon.com/codestory for just $5 to $10 a month. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.
Now Taxes is 100% free when you file in the TurboTax app if you didn't file with us last year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Just do your own taxes in the app by 2/18.
What if I have lots of forms?
All good, all 100% free.
What if I had 3 jobs?
Still 100% free.
What if I once saw Bigfoot?
That has nothing to do with taxes, so still 100% free.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Now this is taxes. See if you qualify in the TurboTax app. Excludes TurboTax Live, must start and file in app by 2/18.